Hey, folks. And let me see if this is how I did this in the past. Yep, that's it. This is the ending live. And I realized the opening day cast was, well, I mean, let's call it what it was. It was less than prepared. I literally didn't leave the work until late. I got on the train, came home, and fired up my computer without being able to do any fucking research at all. And all I did was delay opening day. I've been in hiding about that. And then I thought about it. I said, well, guess what? Nobody else is doing fucking content for this goddamn league. Nobody else is putting on a podcast or a radio show. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Justin Jabs. I'm looking at you, John Comey. I'm looking at you, the brothers. Yeah, brothers whose names I've forgotten. My apologies, gentlemen. But Colorado and San Francisco are two opposing GMs. I'm looking at you guys. A lot of people have talked about content. Nobody's actually doing anything, and my content may be garbage, but it's content. So listen, what I'm going to talk about today is something I've actually been meaning to talk about for a really long time. And that is my surprises, right? My surprises of the season. We're, somebody said 10% of the way through the season earlier, which is technically true-ish for most of us, and that's wild to me. But most of us play about 17 games. So I want to talk about where we are through 17 games. So the first 3 weeks of the season. What does this league look like? What's the surprises? What aren't the surprises? We're not going to get real deep into the players today. I just want to talk about teams and stuff like that. Talk about teams that are surprising. I don't know if my volume's okay. I'm right below my daughter's room. So back in the old workshop / can't really show you guys what's going on here, but I have tools and beer and books. This is my work shed / work shed. So let's get right into it. First of all, quick check. Anybody around? I think we can actually chat in here. No, my computer's all fucked up. Maybe we can. If you're around, let me know in the chat because I can answer questions or talk about something that you guys actually want to talk about, so I don't waste time chatting about teams y'all don't care about. What we're going to talk about, like I said, are the surprises, right? I'm going to break down top 3 surprises in the American League, top 3 surprises in the National League, and then we're going to go bottom 3. So, essentially, we're going to go 3 good surprises, 3 bad surprises for both leagues, just like the ending column that I produce every now and then. I will get back to that. Work has been a nightmare over the last couple of months, and I haven't had a lot of time to write outside of being at work and then being at home with the kiddos. So I'll do what I can to bring some sort of content back. Well, let's get right into it, guys. Let's start in. I was going to go all down the line, but maybe I'll bounce back and forth. And if somebody doesn't like that, if somebody's actually watching this doesn't like that format, let me know. I'll change it. But for now, I'm just going to go American League, National League, American League, National League, American League, National League, down through these essentially 12 teams. Oh, I'm being told the link doesn't work. Oh, you know what? It's taking you to this page, not to the live stream. How did I've done this before. Oh, shit. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. I can jump to the workstation, essentially. So anyway, what we're going to do here, for those of you just catching up, and my apologies, maybe I'll give you all a second to actually get on there. I know Sam said he might be around. Brett is here. Hodges is here. I know the man's busy. We are going to talk some White Sox, some Red Sox, a little bit of Dodgers actually today. We'll talk a little bit of Blue Jays. We'll talk a couple other different teams. So a lot of the guys that are actually here, Nationals, we're going to talk Nationals if Tony's actually around. And some other guys will, we'll get touched upon. But we'll see. So, I gave you guys the link. If somebody's actually here, let me know at this point. If not, I don't know if you can go backwards or not. Tell me there's 2 people watching. That's true or not. Oh, I see Brett. Brett was in here the whole time. I see what he's saying. I get it now, Brett. All right, thanks, bud. So let's just go ahead and get right into this thing. We are going to start the American League, and we're going to talk about the three most surprising teams in the American League. And I don't want to go right in with the team that I'm all most surprised about, because I want to save that one for down the line a little bit. We're not about a team at the middle of the road, but well above where I thought they would be, and I think probably everybody thought they would be, and that's the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers are sitting at 8-8, 2.5 games out of first place. 2.5 games out of first place in the American League Central, with a team that historically has produced, a team that, if you look back at Detroit's history, especially at the beginning of this league, was somebody that was perennially hard to compete with, right? They had 2 third-place finishes up front, then they went 1-1-1, back-to-back, all in the playoffs, never had a chance to play in that championship World Series game, never won a World Series. But they were effective. They won 100 games in 2016, and it was 90-90, 190. It's an impressive streak, right? Even in 2017, the last year that Patrick Gard was with us, I think, as the GM in Detroit, they won 90 games. And then Patrick had signed a bunch of aging players. He had bad contracts. He had no farm system, and he essentially shuffled himself off this mortal coil out of our league, and was replaced now by a gentleman who is attempting to make Jim Melkar, who is chosen to make mountains of molehills. So this guy has nothing in the cover to work with. I'm just trying to make something happen here, especially after kind of what we've seen. I think, forgive me if I'm wrong here, didn't they have Strasburg and sent him out of Tampa Bay? Even after that, there's nothing here, right? So when I look at this team, I didn't expect them to win any games. I thought Detroit would be bottom of the barrel, winning nothing. I thought, for John Hodges' sake and the rest of the Chicago White Sox fans out there, I thought, hey, you know what? At least Chicago won't be in dead last, because Detroit's there. But Detroit has come out firing. Like I said, 8-8. Josh Johnson's been spectacular on the bump. He's got a 2.63 ERA. He's won 3 games. His first 3 starts. I mean, that's crazy to me. Chad Billingsley, again, another aged old nobody. Signed in January of this year. Pitched in 3 games, gone 15 innings, about 5 innings a game, to a 2.3 ERA. What is Chad Billingsley doing being effective right now? I'll never understand that. Now, Josh Johnson's a different story. Josh Johnson's a talented guy. He's been talented for years. We expect this kind of performance out of him. But still, he's 35 years old. So, $31 million a year. That's crazy, dude. So, if you think Brett Anderson's going to pitch a little better than he's pitching right now, Paul Clemens is going to pitch better than he's pitching right now, although I don't know that he's cut out to be a starter long-term in this league. And John Danks, I mean, God bless the man, has been trying for years. I'm surprised this team's competing. I'm impressed with those 2 starters. But what are we looking at here? You look up and down the rankings for these guys. They're in 7th in run scores, 10th in batting averages, American League rankings, mind you, 9th in OBP, 10th in home runs, no stolen bases, giving up the 12th most runs in the league. Their starters ERA is in the bottom 13. Again, not because of Johnson and Billingsley. Their bullpen's in double digits. Their defensive efficiency is in the 9th in the league. Why? Why do they have 8 wins? I don't know, but they continue to scrape out wins. And it's been impressive to me. And it's not always against nobodies, right? They salvaged a win in Minnesota, a tough place to go play, one of the better teams in the American League, if not the entire MLB Pro. They salvaged a series. They didn't get swept, right? They went into Minnesota. They lost the first game, lost the second game in a rough one. They won one Sunday. You win on Sunday, get out of there with an interesting, kind of not being swept. That's not that bad. They won a series in New York earlier. Again, the Yankees team has a very interesting situation going on right now, but they did win the series in New York. They took the series versus Kansas City at home earlier this year. If you go back to their first series of the year, they lost 3 out of 4 to Toronto, but it was in Toronto. We should have lost 3 out of 4 to Toronto there. So, Detroit's one of these teams that, do I expect this to continue? No. Does anybody expect Detroit to continue to win? No. Is Jerry Sands going to hit 40 home runs this year? No. Is Joey Votto going to hit 30 home runs this year? Probably not. Is Byron Buxton going to drive in 100 runs at the top of this lineup? No. But they're more interesting than I thought they'd be. And they're setting themselves up to have a couple of pieces here at the deadline to trade off to some guys trying to compete. And if Detroit can sell off a guy like Jerry Sands, they can sell off a guy like Joey Votto, go on Detroit. They can sell off a guy like Josh Johnson, Chad Billingsley, anybody here. Adam Bailey, who maybe comes back. I kind of forgot about Adam Bailey. Now, I did just notice that Jerry Sands is on the DL for a couple of weeks. That sucks. I hate to see that. Adam Bailey's a guy I've always liked. Hit the ball, struggled a little bit in his first 11 games. He's on the DL for a little bit. But again, another guy. Can they get something for these pieces? Anything. I think they take it. I think they can. I think at the deadline, Detroit gets a couple of pieces here. They grab somebody, a couple of big names in this draft. I think you see Detroit be relevant more than we thought. If these guys can continue and they can sell these pieces off. All right, that's much longer than anyone ever wanted to hear anybody talk about the Detroit Tigers. So I'm moving on. Jim, come at me, bro, if you're here. You did not expect to get any coverage in this anything, I would imagine. Let's go to the National League. All right. The first thing I want to talk about in the National League is a team that just took over first place in its division for the first time in history of this owner. Because the Miami Marlins did used to be a staple at the top. Now, there were some corruption charges levied against the former GM of that team. There was definitely some interesting things going on with how they acquired players and how those players developed. And a couple of other things. We don't really need to get into that. But what's important here is the Marlins are back. And this is another team that went through a rebuild. Right? They took a lot of their players, sold them off for pieces, went out and make a bold move and acquiring a massive contract in Miguel Cabrera, still one of the best hitters in the league, but an interesting choice for a team that seemed to be far away from competing, maybe. Right? The roster's good, but the National League East is very, very tough. It's a tough division to win, to play in, and they haven't won more than 80 games in 3 years. So think about trying to go up against the Mets, the Braves, the Phillies, the Nationals. Some very good pitching staffs on those 4 teams. To go against them all year long, for a team like the Marlins, who didn't really have a lot going on with them, it was that was a bold choice when they went out and got Miguel Cabrera a couple of years ago. But regardless, looking at this team right now, it's something to think about. Top 5 of defense in the National League, and the defensive efficiency sucks. We were talking about literally just runs against. The starters are fantastic. Walker Buehler, man, as a Braves fan, does it kill me to watch him succeed. This cat is something else, and he was just tossed away. I mean, the Braves really didn't think much of him, I was told, at the deadline there in 2017 when they dealt him. Now, Keon Barnum has been great. Sure, Miguel Rojas had his role on that World Series team that made it to the series last year. Jerome Hill was a guy that I think they expected more out of than they got. He was eventually flipped. Kevin Hull's the one that hurts a little bit. That kid was fantastic. He ended up retiring the year after he was traded for to go bowling, I think was what he did. But Walker Buehler is a type pitcher you don't get your hands on often, and they threw him away as if he was nothing. And look, Keon Barnum is a big part of this offense, but he's a 26-year-old left-handed first baseman. He hit 250 last year, 18 home runs, 79 hours. You can find that guy on a free agency for $10 million. You're not finding a Walker Buehler anywhere like that. And this kid's he's a catch. Walker Buehler is spectacular. Anyway, if you go down this lineup, around the pitching staff, Lance McCullers, in that second spot for lefty. I like Lance McCullers a lot. Now, he does have a tendency to let the ball fly a little bit. But I like him. He's gotten better every year he's been in Miami. I think you may see something out of Lance McCullers this year. He's been 25 years old, right? John Lamb, yeah, he's nothing to shake your stick at, but he's the third starter. And then you got a couple guys like Richard White, who's again a journeyman in the minor leagues, but a talented young kid from the Virgin Islands, and Alex Uncle Robbie Watts, a guy that I know for a fact the Braves covered hard earlier this year, a couple years ago when he was still out in LA. And actually, he was coupled over, he was sent over with Henry Powell, who's another guy that they really wanted now from Miguel Pineda, who's since been dealt to the Blue Jays, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, this is a very interesting pitching staff. And I am skeptical as whether the Marlins can maintain their current ranking at the top of this division. I don't know that their offense has enough there, despite Miguel Cabrera being spectacular. I don't know if there's enough offense here to compete. Jose Gonzalez is an interesting guy, plays great. He plays terrible defense, but he's great at he's going to the base pass. But I don't know that the young Mexican's enough in that 3 slot. And then with a guy like Corey Seager, who again is a decent ball player, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to offer a lot of protection for Miguel Cabrera. Do you need the protection? If you pace to hit 60 home runs and 150 RBIs, and it's crazy. It's never going to sustain itself. Well, I think you're looking at a team, that is playing above its pay grade right now. The pitching has been spectacular. If the offense can catch up a little bit, Miami can stick around. They can stay in this wild card hunt. But I think long term, this is just a really, really fun look at the future for the Marlins because Alex Watts is their top prospect, getting his shot here in the majors this year. A lot of these guys, even some of the guys that are well-traveled names, like Xander Bogaerts, Francisco Lindor, I mean, they're still mid-20s, right? They're maybe post-hype guys that didn't quite reach the level we thought they would. But they're guys that I like with the bat. Now, here's the problem. Not a lot of dudes on this team play good defense, and that is going to be an issue for them. The outfield is different. Like Williams, interesting name. Nolan Raleigh both play good defense out in the outfield. So their outfield's okay. Jose Gonzalez is a little bit of a wild card, like I said. But I don't know. I don't know that the Marlins have enough to stick around, like I mentioned. But I do like what they're doing. They are surprising to me. I did not think they'd be in the top 3 of this division right now. Honestly, if you were to ask me, you're much less leading it. And they're leading it comfortably. 8-2 in the last 10. Dominating some teams. And if you look at why they're here, I mean, that Braves series is big. They swept the Braves to start this month off, essentially. They won 4 out of 6. They had a 6-game stretch against the Braves and the Mets. And they won 4 out of 6. And then they took 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati. They took 2 out of 3 against Philly. And they're about to take on the Cubs, worst team in the National League. They're a little higher than usual, but they're not very good. Right? Bounced back great from that Colorado series. Good on you, Marlins. Ryan, great start to the season, bud. Keep it up down in South Florida. We're all really excited to watch what you're doing. Let's move back to the American League. I've got to speed this up because I do have a lot of teams I want to get through. Let's talk about the Astros in a team that we talked about a lot, so I will keep this one brief. It's weird to talk about a team in a positive light that's in 4th place in its division and 5.5 games back of the division leader. And granted, that's the 15-2 Seattle Mariners. We can talk about the 15-2 Seattle Mariners all day long, and I will briefly. The Mariners, second best offense in the league, just behind the Angels, their division rivals. Third best defense. League best pitching. 37 runs allowed. You heard that right. 37 runs allowed in 17 games. What is that? Just over 2? Just over 2 runs a game being allowed. While scoring, it's going to push my math skills. Scoring almost 5 runs a game, almost 6 runs a game, and averaging a margin of victory of 4 runs. The Mariners are fucking ridiculous. And yes, they are going to come back down to earth. I promise you they're going to have to come back down to earth. But goddamn, is it fun to watch now. Unless you're any Rangers, Angels, Astros, or A's fan. But this section is about the Astros. A team widely regarded to have one of the best farm systems in the game. A team widely regarded to be the team of 2021. They're 9-7. I mean, I don't hate what they're doing. They're 9-7. Their offense has struggled, second worst in the league. But their pitching's been good. And despite the fact that they're not really scoring a lot of runs, 56 runs scored on the season, their bullpen has been lights out. John O'Quinn at the back of this bullpen. Lopine Sacco has not been this great, but John O'Quinn's been killer. Dude signed in January. He was with the Phillies last year. Is that right? No, it's just a bullpen guy for the Phillies. Been given the closer job. He's been great. Pat Crosby's been great out of the bullpen. So, if they get a lead on somebody, they're able to hold it, essentially. And what we're looking at is a couple of guys playing out of their mind right now. Richard Fowler and Eddie Hernando. Both on pace to hit 60 home runs. Hernando driving over 100 RBIs. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. For a team that's got Aaron White on the cusp. Alonzo Caballero can come up. Ron Winterholder can come up. Tim James can come up. There's 4 or 5 guys out of this vaunted farm system that are on the verge to come up here. So if you're at Houston and they start looking at dealing out Pat Leonard, a couple of these other cats, I don't think I'm going to get anything from Melvin Appleby, but they can deal off a couple players here and get some of these young cats some bad bats and actually be in contention to have a winning season. I mean, how happy are you as an Astros fan to potentially go into this thing with a winning season after not having a winning season ever? And see this rebuild moved up here. Because I think the Astros finished this season with a winning record. It's a fucking stretch, mind you. And I think you have a legitimate case to make that they could be relevant and dangerous next year. Now their schedule has been interesting. It gets a little more interesting coming up because you get 2 against Oakland, who, despite being in dead last in this division, I think is actually been pretty impressive. You get 3 against Texas, again on the road, and they get 5 against the American League. 9 against the American League Central, 5 against the Twins, 4 against the Indians to finish out April. And you go back to the Indians, 11 straight games against the American League Central. That's interesting. But really, if you look all the way until May 31st, well, let's keep going. What is going on with this schedule? Okay, here's something interesting I wasn't planning on talking about, but didn't notice until literally just now. From now until July 3rd, the Houston Astros play the Angels twice. They avoid the Angels literally until July, except for these 2 games they have in May. That's crazy. And they play the Mariners 7 times during that stretch. So anyway, if you're the Astros, this is the time. Take your shot. Try to get some games here. You've got an easiest schedule now because it ain't going to get pretty in July and August when you start seeing Angels, Mariners, Angels, Mariners, Angels, Mariners. They'll show up all over the place. Goddamn, September's rough. I don't think Houston's a threat this year, but I'm surprised. I'm impressed. All right, let's move back to the National League. You awake? You awake? No? One of the brothers are showing up. Eddie Buckholz, that's their name. Eddie and Ryan Buckholz. All right, anyway, going back to the National League. We just talked about the Marlins. We've talked about Detroit. We've talked about, where the fuck did my pen go? It's going, guys. Sorry. Back to the National League to talk about the Cardinals. Honestly, the Cardinals are what I expected them to be. They are what they should be right now, 10-6 at the top of the division. I wouldn't call it surprising. What I would say is that it's good to see. The Cardinals are a team that I think the National League needs to be back on top of their game if they have any threat of being relevant at all come postseason. Because the Cardinals are a team that is composed in a way that they can win a series against the American League if things break right. They've got enough offense. They've got Clayton Kershaw, LeBlanc, Dave Smith. They've got Jared Parker. Even they've got some guys that can really do some things. And I'd like to see the Cardinals make some noise here and stay on top of this division. That's not to say I don't want to see Scott Gesper and his Reds do anything, but I would like to see the Cardinals maintain this lead and fight this thing out with the Reds, with the Brewers, who I'm also a big fan of. I'd like to see this division get back to where it needs to be. When you look up and down as to why they're winning, again, bullpen, very, very solid for the Cardinals. They're also scoring runs, top 5 in runs scored in the National League. Now, that's not the same number as it is in the American League, but a lot of that has to do with the pitching, too. The pitching in the National League is better, I think, across the board. Maybe some of the top flight guys are better in the American League, but I think the National League, top to bottom, a lot of these divisions, a lot of these rotations is better. If a guy like Yasiel Puig, who was an interesting signing late last year, can step it up a little bit and we get 235. He's walking a lot. Enough at the moment. The Cardinals have a shot to continue this, and I do think the Cardinals hang on and they end up winning. I mean, Evan Longoria is not going to hit 50 home runs, so that's going to slow down. He hit 19 last year. This is going to slow down. But the rest of this offense is good enough to catch up and I think carry a little bit of the weight. Their top 3 prospects who are in the major leagues right now: Dave Smith, Randy Mealy, and Roberto Osuna. Sorry, not 4. There's Guzman's there too. So this is the time. The Cardinals are making a shot. They called up their kids. They're letting them play. They've got to make a change. They've got to make a move. This is the time. And I do think that the Cardinals can be relevant. I think that they can. What's this thing? What does this button do? Never mind. I think the Cardinals are in a place where they can actually do some stuff here. So let's move on back to the American League. Listen, Ryan, sorry for the slow coverage, but the Cardinals, the Cardinals are boring. They're exactly what we thought they would be. Although I guess I do need to take one quick second to talk about Dave Smith and how impressive he's been to start. He got 4 games last year. In 3 games this year, he has walked to 12, which is concerning, but he's managed to keep those people from scoring. I mean, the young lefty is throwing the ball. He's getting people out somehow, like the fact that he's walking almost 6 a fucking game. I guess it's 4 a game. Anyway, it's fun to see the kids up and playing. He's had a long road through the minor leagues here since 2017. Started in AA. He's moving the ball on here. Actually, started in 2015. Excuse me. He's the first overall pick for the Cardinals, 16th overall. So anyway, good to see Dave Smith. And let's move back to the American League. And this is the thing I kind of wanted to talk about all along, because I didn't think they'd be here. Honestly, I didn't think they'd ever get here. The Boston Red Sox on top of the American League, 17 games in, 10% of the way through the season, however you want to say it. Red Sox are here. They have a division that a lot of people thought would be top heavy with the Rays, the Jays and the Orioles, kind of fighting it out of the top. The Yanks were a wild card with all the moves they've made. But Boston's on top. And granted, they weren't there that long. They haven't been here this long, but the Orioles, have been on a bit of a rough stretch here. But the 9-8 Boston Red Sox are on top of the world here. I don't know. I'm interested to see if this can get maintained. Dominic Brown only played 5 games before getting hurt. Now, you can say that's a blessing considering his performance last year. He was not off to a great start. So, I don't know if you necessarily see that as a bad thing because Dominic Brown going down has allowed Yasuhiko Takeda, to step into right field and play a little bit. Now he's getting on base significantly more. He's not stealing any bases. He is striking out a little more than you may want, but he's a guy that I think you want to see get playing time in Boston if you're a Red Sox fan. I like this kid, and so that's opened the door a little bit for him. Now, Suramatsu Ichibuchi, also on the DL, not what you wanted for Boston. He was finally going to be given the full-time starting job here this year, and so he's down for a little bit. So, we'll see. But what's interesting is this is another team, and this is definitely a trend that you want to pay attention to. This is another team with its top prospect in the majors right now. Todd Kuhn is probably the top prospect in baseball, according to a lot of people. The guy can run, he can steal. For average and power, he's as close as you can get as a 5-tool guy. And he has played all 17 games for the Red Sox this year. He's getting on base in a nice clip. He's got a 250 batting average. Not great, but enough. He's got thrown out a couple times. He's striking out a lot more than I'd like to see. But the fact that he's playing is fun to watch. He's playing. He's been given his shot. And he is not hurting the team by being part of the roster. He's hitting low enough in the roster. It's not going to be an issue, I don't think. He's surrounded by some guys like Alex Dickerson, Dwight Smith, who's an interesting person to play at that DH spot. Arturo Gomez is getting on base at a fast enough rate and becoming a threat on the base path. So, the Red Sox, again, they're a team much like the who we talked about earlier, the Marlins maybe, who just kind of middle of the road of offense, 6th and 7th, kind of in all the range. And again, American League, that's pretty impressive. Especially when you think about the top 3 or 4 being. I'll run you through them. It's LA, Seattle, Baltimore, Oakland, Toronto, Texas, Boston. So the teams ahead of them, other than Oakland, should be ahead of them. Oakland playing above their pay grade here. But there are teams like Minnesota, the Yankees. I want to say Houston, but Cleveland probably should be ahead of Boston. That Boston's beating right now. Their pitching's been rough. Their bullpen has been good. Another really thread running through here. The 2 threads we've seen running through a lot of these teams are well-performing bullpens, good bullpens, and the top prospects in the majors. By the way, the next 3, Ronald Stanton, Dave Allen, Sidney English, all in AAA, and Edward Small, their number, 5 prospect, major leagues. So, again, Boston, another team, playing their kids, getting ready for these kids to come up. Interesting trend to keep about. Do I think Boston can keep this up? No, I don't. I've said that for years about them, so hopefully this is the year they prove me wrong. I love the Red Sox. I don't think they can keep it up. I think Dominic Brown comes back in 3 weeks. And if Boston still has any hold on this, I think he takes over for Takeda. You probably slide him up, in that 3 or 4 spot, so they bumps Espinoza up to the 2. I don't know what they do with this roster, but I don't necessarily think Don Brown coming back is a positive thing. Now, hopefully, Takeda can take over this job, and Don Brown's just relegated to the bench. We did talk a little bit in the preseason about his influence on the clubhouse and how great he'd been for some of these young guys, but will that maintain if he's not playing? I don't know. I think Boston's a team that struggles here throughout the rest of this. Well, this month maybe not. I mean, they get 2 against the Yankees here, then they get 6 against the Rays and 4 against the Tigers. Now, the Tigers, like we talked about, have been more surprising than we would thought. Maybe that was the thing I was discussing. But the Rays have the worst offense in baseball. Second worst. The Nationals were first. The worst offense in the American League. Yeah, Boston could score some runs. On Tampa, they could end up winning 4 of those 6 games. You can take 3 or 4 from Detroit. They take 1 or 2 from the Yankees here. They take 1 from Oakland, and that's 9 more wins. I think if you would have told Brett Jackson he would have gotten out of April with 18 wins. Is that the right number? 15 wins? I mean, I'm fucking taking it. I'm ecstatic if I was him. So we'll see. And we'll see what Boston can put together. But that's an interesting thing to look at. I didn't really consider their schedule going into this. Boston can come out of this month in a position to win. At least be in contention. The Orioles now, that hurts because the Orioles do basically take on the Twins and the White Sox. So the Orioles should finish above 500 for the rest of this month. And if you look at the Jays, they get the Twins. The Twins are just taking an American League tour. The A's, they do get the Angels once, and then they get the Giants, which is a National League swing. So who knows? It's going to be fun. I knew this is going to be a fun week, or the fun month, rest of the month for the American League East. But I thought maybe when I started this, I was going to write Boston off completely. They may still be in the mix of this thing at the end of this month. And if they are, watch out, because Brett Jackson's not a guy that's afraid to pull the trigger, and they've got some interesting pieces. They can go out and get a couple guys that have been rumored to be on the trade block that some other teams you may not be able to put their hands on. Brett Jackson's a guy that's got the tools to go get them. Can he pull the trigger? That's a different question. All right, let's jump back over to the National League to talk about we talked about maybe the most surprising team in the American League. Let's talk about probably the most surprising team in the National League. That's the Colorado Rockies. And they're not the most surprising team in the National League because I don't think they're talented, because quite the contrary, I'm a big fan of this Colorado Rockies lineup. Hideki Abe is out right now, but he's a great table setter. He's been a monster on the base pass, just like he was in Atlanta last year. He's playing great defense in the outfield. He's getting on base at a much better than expected clip. Hey, Sozi's back around. Sozi, good God, but I'm sorry. Justin Kaiser, I imagine that's pronounced Soze, like as in Kaiser Soze. Let's come around. Hopefully he's not watching. He has things to do. He doesn't care about me or this podcast. They do things like that and little fucking things they're recording. The Colorado Rockies, like I said, were a team that I expected a lot out of. We've talked a little bit about the way they've been able to flip the narrative on its head. Colorado's been a place historically that has always been said, you can't pitch in Colorado, so you try to outslug your opponents. Well, guess what? Colorado's got a ridiculous staff right now. Manuel Reyes, I forgot Cooper's first name, Craig Cooper? Damn, I'm good at this. Craig Cooper, Ronald Dunham, Judd Graham, all guys that I love because they're spectacular, they're young, they're talented, they throw the ball fucking hard. This is a good staff. And for them to be pitching the way they're pitching in Colorado right now, backed up by an offense, has brought it with Will Myers at the top of this lineup right now. He typically at the start. Carlos Correa, who's hitting out of his mind. I've loved this kid since he was in St. Louis. He's a guy that I really wanted to see the Braves go get, but they couldn't pull it off. Jock Peterson hitting third, hitting the ball well. Jed McKinley, monster behind the dish, also at the plate. Ramon Zaragoza, a guy that, is he always going to hit for average? No, but you have to expect he's going to go back to that 20 to 30 home run guy that he's been the last couple of years. 35 home runs, followed up by 30 home runs last year. He's a guy that's going to start hitting the ball a hell of a lot more than he's doing right now. McGee, Gregorius, and Taylor to finish out at the bottom of that lineup. Nothing to write home about, but man, those top 7 guys can score enough runs. But it's not really a problem. Now, the real issue is some of the problem positions they've got are really hard positions to fill. Second base is a tough position to go out there and find a starter at. Third base is a tough position to go out there and find a guy at. There are some bats available. Again, there have been rumors out of Atlanta that they're willing to part ways with Pablo Sandoval. Is that somebody that the Colorado goes and gets? Are they happy with Didi Gregorius at third base? He plays decent defense, but the dude can't fucking hit. So do they go out and get a guy like, like Pablo Sandoval? Do they go out and get a guy like Taylor Sparks from the A's, who's another interesting piece that I think would be a really good fit in Colorado? There's probably some guys down in Texas that they could go grab. Hell, do they go to Boston? Another team we talked about today. Because again, who knows if Boston can stick around? But Nakamura is really interesting. Hiroshi Nakamura is a very, very interesting player. He's young enough that I think Brett may want to keep him in Boston, but can they go get a guy like him to play third base? This is a specific little hole to go now. But Colorado's a team that if they can get a legitimate third baseman, this team up and down with that is killer. And if you want to talk about the division there, they're going to fucking need the help. Because I'm going to take a quick second here to tell you about the National League's offense. Now, we don't have to talk about the numbers. I know all you American League snobs are going to ignore the fact that you have a DH and that the bigger budgets seem to be in that league. But we walk down the National League offenses: Colorado, San Francisco, Dodgers. 1, 2, 3. Right? Finishing out the top 10, the Padres are in the top 10. The only team not in the top 10 that's in this division is the Diamondbacks. And we all know what their future looks like. So you look at the Rockies sitting at first place, one game above the Dodgers. But the Rockies pitching staff pitching as well as they're going to all year, probably. The offense playing as well as they're going to all year. And you've still got your Dodgers and your Giants nipping at your heels. The Dodgers without Jeffrey Moore right now. Right? The Giants, a confusing team without Kidd. They just lost Cameron Maven. Matt Latos is out for the year. So we're not going to see him at any point, which is kind of a bummer. What do you do in Colorado? I think you go get a piece. And I don't know who that piece is, but I would love to see Colorado go out and get somebody to solidify what they're starting here, because I think a team like Colorado could be a blast to watch in the playoffs. And Coors Field always just adds an interesting little change, an interesting little wrinkle to what happens. And again, they're a team, and that's the show idea. Shit, that's the one I had a while ago. I wanted to do a show on all the teams that had never won a division title and how likely it had been. But Colorado is how likely it will be this year. And that is I think that's a fun idea. I'm going to do a show on that, hopefully late next week maybe. But for now, a team that has never won the division, I think it'd be great to see this. Now, again, they are at a historic offensive production for them. They've never hit 280 last season. They have a historic pitching performance right now. Never has their ERA been below 3, much less at 283, where it is now. It's been below 3.5. Last year was the lowest it's ever been at 387. I don't think they can sustain it without going and getting a couple pieces. But I think it'd be interesting to watch Eddie go out and get some pieces. And again, I laid out a couple of ideas, and I just threw the names off the top of my head for third base candidates. I think their staff's great. I think their bullpen is great, with more of Vizcaino-Hashim at the end of there, with Orlando Garcia, a guy that was okay in the pen. Really had a couple of his pitches fall apart. He's really a two-pitch guy. And Eddie Buckles recognized that and put him in the pen, and he's been good in the pen. So, this is a team, again, if you look at the top, Renair Blanchard, Andrew Taylor, Kent Cook, 3 of their top prospects, AAA and AA, or AAA or the majors here. These guys are the GM of the aforementioned astronomically performing Seattle Mariners is apparently sitting on a golf course staring out at the ocean in Seattle. So he can go fuck himself. Anyway, guys, watch the Rockies. I'm telling you, this is the team, I think. This is the team. If I'm going to call my shot right here in mid-April, the Rockies are my team to finish on top of this division. And I think the Rockies are my team. Of course, because I'm talking about your team, man. The Rockies are my team. Yeah, I think you're going to surprise people, because if you took, we did take a straw poll, so I can go back and check this out. We took a straw poll of division champions. I don't think the Rockies got a lot of votes. I think a lot of people were on the Giants and the Dodgers train. I'm telling you right now, I should have told you earlier, I should have called my shot, but I think I was too big on the Padres, what we'll get to later. this Rockets team's for real. They're going to be a problem in September for the National League. They might be a problem for the American League if they can get that far. Come playoff time, who knows? 40 minutes. Fuck me, guys. I got to move on. I might have to break this into 2 podcasts. I mean, I'm on. Yeah, I can't talk about this anymore. This is 40 minutes. And I don't think anybody's watching other than Brett. Now that I'm done talking about the Rockies, he's probably going to be able to. I guess I'll talk about the 3 down tomorrow, but that is the 3 up. The 3 biggest surprises from each league. Tomorrow, I guess we'll talk about my disappointments for each league, and we'll get into why those teams are struggling and where they are right now. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching.